Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. I've decided to share with you how I made this satin slip skirt. I'm going to show you how to create the pattern for your own measurements and also how to sew it from scratch. I wanted a slip skirt since forever. I find them really versatile. You can wear them in the winter with a sweater. Also, you can wear them with heels or with sneakers, so they are perfect for any season and you can easily mix textures to create an interesting outfit. As usual, I'm first going to show you the shape that you're going to need to cut out from your fabric, and I'm also going to show you which measurements you'll need to take. To create a pattern for this skirt, you will need 3 measurements. The first measurement, measurement A, is your circumference at your widest point, so this will probably be around your hips. You'll need to divide this by 2 and then add the seam allowance. I recommend you take the measurement around your hips rather loose, so add a couple of inches or make sure that your measuring tape can move back and forth around your hips. This way you can make sure that your skirt isn't going to be too tight around your hips. The next measurement, measurement B, is going to be the width of your skirt at the bottom. For this I added my first measurement, so measurement A, plus half of that. And measurement C is the length of the skirt, and you're going to need to measure from the waist, if you want your skirt to sit on the waist, downwards up until the point that you want your skirt to be. Then add about 10 centimeters because we will need some extra fabric there, and then add your regular seam allowance. Now that you have all of the measurements, you can go ahead and make the pattern. And you'll need to cut the fabric on bias. It's really important so that the skirt flows nicely. And basically what that means is that you'll need to place the pattern on a 45-degree angle on your fabric. So let's pretend this rectangle is my fabric, and I'm going to place the pattern like this. And after you've cut out the 2 pieces for your skirt, the front part and the back part, I'm going to show you what changes we will need to make sure that they will fit nicely. So first you're going to have this shape that you cut out where basically all of the lines are straight. And first you're going to need to round up the waistband just slightly. You're going to fold your fabric in half and just cut it, making a rounded shape at the top. And then you'll need to do the same thing at the bottom. Here is why we added those 10 centimeters to make sure that we don't lose as much length. You can always hem it and make it shorter if you want. And the last thing we are going to change is to round up the sides at the top as well. So basically this will make the skirt a bit narrower at the top and over the hips, so that you won't have to make the darts really big at the back. The materials that you'll need to create this skirt is some satin fabric. I had about 2 meters. Then you'll need an invisible zipper in a color that matches your fabric. You will also need some bias tape. This can be any color, it won't show on the skirt. You'll also need some fabric scissors, some matching thread, a pencil or chalk, some pins, and of course your sewing machine. So usually I would create the pattern out of paper and then just place it over my fabric, pin it and cut it out. But this time I ran out of pattern paper and my Amazon order didn't arrive, so I'm just going to draw it directly on my fabric. And I've started with the top of the skirt, so the A measurement. And then from the middle of that A measurement, I've drawn a line downwards. This will be the length of my skirt, so the C measurement. Then I've drawn the bottom of my skirt, so the B measurement. And then connected the sides. And this is how the shape of your skirt should look like after cutting it out. And you will need 2 pieces of this. To cut out the second piece, I just placed the first one on top of my fabric and cut it out. Make sure that you also cut this out on bias. And now that I have both of my pieces cut out, I'm going to make the changes that I showed you at the beginning. So first I'm going to round up the upper part of my skirt, so the waistband, and I've measured about 2 to 3 centimeters that I cut out to be able to create this slant in my fabric. Then I did the exact same thing on the bottom. And then I moved on to the sides of my skirt. And here I only took it in 3 centimeters, but I really should have done at least 5 because my darts ended up being quite big, so I recommend you take the skirt in at the sides a bit more than 3 centimeters. And this is the final shape for our pattern, so now we can start sewing it. Place the 2 pieces right sides facing each other. Then you can start sewing one side of the skirt and the other one up until the point that you want to insert your zipper in. This obviously depends on the length of the zipper you chose. If you don't have a serger, you can use a regular straight stitch on your sewing machine since this fabric isn't stretchy. And to make sure that the edges of your fabric don't fray, you can go ahead and use a zigzag stitch on those as well. Now I'm going to sew the zipper in, and I'm going to open it and pin it in place. And the trick with the invisible zipper is to make sure you sew as closely to the teeth of the zipper as possible. If you're a beginner at this, you can search for tutorials here on YouTube. There are so many tricks that you can use to make sure you sew it in perfectly. And this is how my zipper turned out. And now it's time to try your skirt on. I recommend trying it inside out, so you can pin the fabric at the back of your waist, so you'll know exactly how much fabric you'll need to take in, so the skirt fits you perfectly around your waist. So for me it was about 10 centimeters, so I knew I had to create 2 darts that are about 5 centimeters wide. So now I'm measuring the back of my skirt, dividing this by 3 and marking the 2 points that I'm going to add the darts in. And these darts are basically 2 inverted triangles. As you can see, I accidentally had my head in the shot all the time while doing this, so I don't have better footage of it, but I hope you understood what I meant. And after I've drawn them on, I'm just pinning them like this and sewing them using a straight stitch. Make sure you don't sew back and forth at the end of the stitch, since this usually makes the stitch bulkier and we want it to lay as flat as possible. So instead, just take the 2 ends of the threads and make a knot. And this is how my darts turned out. You now just need to press them using an iron, and then you can move on to the waistband. To create the waistband, I am using the bias tape that I mentioned at the beginning, and I'm placing it right side facing the right side of the fabric, just like this, and I'm opening it up and pinning it all the way around. Make sure you fold the end of the bias tape outwards, so towards the outside. I did it the wrong way here, so you have to do it the other way around. And then pin the bias tape all the way around until you reach the other end of the zipper, and then once again fold the edge of the bias tape outwards. This will give it a clean look at the edges. And now you can go ahead and sew it all the way around using a straight stitch, and you're going to want to sew it right inside of that fold right here. And now that this part is sewn on, just fold the bias tape inwards. You can use an iron to press it flat, and then pin it once again all the way around, making sure that the other end of the bias tape is folded inwards. And then just go ahead and sew it again, starting at the zipper all the way around to the other edge. And this is probably the easiest way to make a waistband for a skirt. This is also my first time doing this. I got a bit confused there when I folded the edge of the bias tape the wrong way around, but other than that it was really unexpectedly easy. And this is the finished waistband. It looks really professional. And here's the zipper. And now the last step is to hem the bottom of your skirt. Before doing this, try it on once again to make sure the length is the way you wanted it to be, and then just fold the edge of the fabric inwards twice and sew it using a straight stitch. And this is the finished skirt. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of these. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.